Welcome to the Improving Edge. This is where we talk about how AI and technology are showing up in real organizations, what works, what doesn't, what we're learning along the way. I'll be having conversations with folks actually doing the work, turning innovations into outcomes, like Nick Larson here. So Nick is a VP of technology for us here at Improving. And today we're going to be talking about AI-ready data and what that means inside of the enterprise. Thanks for being here, Nick.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
I think so. Yeah, this should be good.
So AI-ready data is almost a buzzword at this point.
Yeah.
Like, make it concrete for us. Like, what does it really mean? What does it really look like?
I don't know that it's like a specific, it's not a format that your data has to be like, it has to have this schema or these values or these properties.
Okay.
It's more or less making it so your data is available, for one, like that's the big thing. And when it's available, it has to be understood by these models that are able to translate and generate text or take action on the data that's coming in. So if you think about any sort of data that's labeled properly, like if you have customer numbers, for example, like does it know that it's a member or a customer, or an internal customer, or an online customer? What's the difference so it can take proper action to it? So it's not necessarily defining it down to a specific spec. It's making sure that it's knowable by what's going on in your system.
So I heard a couple of things
Yeah.
in there, like obviously access, like
Yep.
can we get to the data?
Yep.
Do we know what the data is? So
Correct.
there's some understanding
Yeah,
around it.
yeah, like
And-
semantics of it.
Yeah, and maybe even vocabulary,
Yep.
right? Like, okay, what does customer mean?
Yeah.
Or what is member? Or what do we call
Correct.
this in our organization?
A lot of that comes down to, I mean, a big thing with LLMs and AI in general is just context.
Okay.
What that context of that data looks like for the meaning that it's going after at that moment. In addition to the context, the availability and all that, it also has to be governed. Like we have to make sure that it has the proper access. So the systems that are accessing it aren't just grabbing, PII data or anything and leaking that data across the organization or across your applications. So it's very important to have that structure and that piece down. A lot of companies today, they have a lot of those working, but they don't have it refined properly.
Okay.
I look at like agentic work and it's like, imagine you have 500 people being able to look at the data and work on it simultaneously. That's kind of what we're after. Instead of one person getting something and being like, oh yeah, that works, go ahead and pass it on or open up a ticket. You're having 500 people doing it at once or thousands of people doing it at once. So your data needs to be refined in a sense where it makes sense, or those split-second decisions, so it doesn't hallucinate or say the wrong thing.
Right. And having that many, like 500 all
Yeah.
at once, and you don't want them interpreting it differently.
Right. You want
Right.
to be, the hard part is none of it's deterministic.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
so like you want it to be as close to probable outcomes as possible. So a lot of that's through prompting, but most of it's from your data.
Yeah. So yeah, the non-deterministic behavior, right? I can take the same prompt and even with a single model, put it in 5 times.
Correct.
And I'm gonna get 5 different answers.
Correct.
It's like, well, okay, but are all 5 right?
Right.
And like, is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah. And so
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say some of that gets into how your systems are built and how fast the data is coming in or what type of data is going there. But a lot of it is, does it understand it? Can it take the appropriate actions based on the prompt that these things are given? So,
Yeah. So you used the word governance earlier.
yeah.
Right. So talk a little bit more about what does that look like though?
So governance, is it categorized right? Is it accessible right? Is it formatted in the moment in the way that it needs to be done?
Okay.
That's all very, very important for that to happen. Security is a big piece of that as well. Kind of some of those guardrails are tables name right? Are topics name right? Is it coming in proper? Is it fitting to your format? Like all of that from your standards, making sure that it's met.
Gotcha. So there's some consistency we have to
Correct.
make sure
Yep.
is in place as part of that governance, but then also you mentioned security and access, right?
Correct.
Do the right people have the right level of access
Yeah.
and not access to the things that they shouldn't?
Like data in general, we get down to almost like row level security type stuff. And you have to remember that these agents need that same sort of thing. It's just like a person querying it. A lot of times systems are given like, oh, the system can do whatever they want, right? When we were
Right.
writing applications to do these sorts of things, that level of, well, Nick can see this, David could see that. The system can kind of see both.
Right.
You need to make sure that's properly handled that way, because it is just like a person doing it. It's going to take action. It could expose data because it's not deterministic of what's coming out of there. You can try to force it and coerce it into a schema that's coming out. But if it's exposing somebody's address or something where it shouldn't, just because it says, oh, this is valuable information,
Right.
that's difficult. And you have to be able to catch that and shut that down. So if it can't read that data, anything you don't want to be put out, you don't want it to be able to read. You kind of trust people to do some of that.
Yep.
The AI is harder to trust because you can't see it on an individual basis.
Yeah. So part of your governance, I like how you said,
Yeah.
treat it like a person.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't give the person access to this.
Right.
And then you need to be able to have some of those same sort of controls in place.
Correct. Yeah. And a good example is like the row level access, where if they need that level of granularity, you have to confine them to that level, because
We give them
they're
wide open access.
Right.
That's how you nuke a production database
Correct.
in
Yep.
9 seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Where it was like,
prompt injection,
no.
and just other types of data leakage problems are huge, because people just are like, oh, we'll just stand an LLM up against what we got and just feed it everything and see what spits out. Well, that's a good way to like crash your company, give away your secrets, expose somebody's personal information,
do something horrible.
just do something horrible.
Right.
Yes, and we
Okay.
don't want that.
Yeah, the best way to clean the data is we'll just delete it all. Now it's clean. They're like, no, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk to customers, oftentimes they are maybe overly generous in their self-assessment of where they are
Yeah.
in this journey. Like, oh yeah, we're great. Our data's totally good. We're clean. Like, how do we go about walking alongside them in those conversations to help them kind of take a true view of where they are and what that roadmap needs to look
Yeah.
like for them?
I think this all comes down to stuff we've been working on for the last decade, approximately. Modern data platforms. It's something that we've been kind of focused on over the last 5 to 10 years, dealing with data as it's coming in and coursing it into the platform so it's available and ready across everything. I think those are kind of table stakes for having good AI problems. So we have a bunch of customers that we've helped kind of get from source to some sort of analytical engine. But what about the stuff in between? They kind of skip over some of that. So defining what your data is as AI ready is depending on what you want to do with it, right?
Okay.
As far as being available, if you need to do fraud detection or something along those lines, you can't do that from a batch process that runs nightly, right? I need to know within milliseconds of when a record comes in, is this fraud? So you have to have some sort of streaming data, for example. I spent a lot of time over the last decade in streaming data and building systems to do that. And that's what I see as kind of part of a modern platform. It's not just putting something into storage somewhere so I can run models on it and build dashboards and, get percentages of how many people clicked through or how many customers bought yesterday. It's somebody's buying something now. What do I recommend to them? Is their credit card valid? And all these sorts of things are happening in real time, and that sort of data, that maturity is, I think, where AI really can really take hold.
Yeah. So I hear you saying, like, as we're helping them figure out their data strategy, it really starts with, what are your business outcomes?
Right.
Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And then work backwards into, all right, what data do we need access to?
Right.
What level of clarity do we need around that data so that we can get the business outcomes?
Yeah, like if you don't have those business outcomes defined, you're not setting your data up for the right method of exposure and the right frequency even. So you have to know that of what you want out of it is how you need to set that up. As we help customers journey to a modern platform, a modern data platform, there's a variety of tools we use. We kind of use any across the board. We don't have any that we're like, oh, you have to use this tool or that tool. But there has to be key elements to it of, if data needs to be seen, we need to have the off-ramp here. If it's fine for this sort of use case, we need to have the ETL processes here. If we need to have that data in more real time, we need to have it here.
Gotcha.
Things along the ways.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about, streaming data, and you mentioned agentic AI previously. What have been some interesting implementations of agents that you've seen in those streaming
That's a good
scenarios?
question, because it's really, when you've worked in it so long, it's kind of just another step along the way. I don't know that it fundamentally changes how we've done a lot of things over the last 5 or 6 years. It's just the systems that you write are now agentic, and they're like taking information in real time and making decisions on them, not just reading them and generating something new, the same way that a microservice would in the past. It's just that now it can, without writing all the hooks from this microservice, is a triage microservice, for example, from customer data coming in and sentiment analysis and things along those lines. Instead of it just being like, oh, I need to open a ticket, and then it puts a message on another queue, and then it opens a ticket through some ticketing service, and then somebody picks it up and works it. Those agents can now do all of those steps.
Gotcha.
Can open that ticket and say, this customer's probably having a problem. I should probably do something else with it. So that's very interesting. As far as, specifics, we've got a few where one of my favorite one was we had error queues, like a dead letter queue. And the customer was like, we have 400,000 records in this dead letter queue. Why are we not figuring this out? It's like, well, that's a perfect example to just put that agentic process on there. It can help you weed out what's really like a system error, what's a personal error, what's going on with this customer, and then either surface it through an email or triage it to a ticket, or have it send a personal email to them and be like, could you try this again? Something along those lines.
So I hear you saying it's simplifying some of the systems that we're building.
Correct.
It can make a little bit more of those decisions. You don't have to be quite as prescriptive.
Yeah, the systems are still robust. There are many systems that are talking to each other, but the inlet to it's not the fine weaving between everything. It's kind of like, I've built this. It can talk to 17 other systems. It kind of knows how to handle that stuff and is figuring out, right? The rage right now in AI is all like how it's helping developers.
Right.
Because it's like, I can do this that much faster. I don't know that agentic agents are that much faster or going to speed your business up that much faster. It's just easier to produce them and build them.
Gotcha.
Because the systems are talking together. You don't have to wire every scenario coming out of system A so system B can handle it. It's just like, well, I have a system that can handle something like this. Let's go ahead and do that.
Just try it out and see how it goes.
Which is very scary too, right? Because this is where your data is very important, because if it's leading to, I need to highlight this customer and open a ticket or refund their money, you don't want to do that in error.
Right. Yeah, if refunds go bad, like business can go bad.
Yeah.
And we've talked before about how, agents can, because they can do things faster, they can do the wrong things faster too. And so then going back to the governance that you were talking about earlier, like, how do I know if something bad has happened? And I want to know on the third time it happens, not the 103rd time it happens.
Talking some bit about the observability of it as well, and understanding what's going on. And that's super important in this world too, is as soon as you have something agentic evaluate a message or an event or whatever it is, some line of data coming in, it's usually generating something else. So that's another event that's coming out of this thing. So you need to know all of that, and you need to be able to trace that back, especially as you're building these things new, because you need to cure that fast if you have problems, right?
And pull the lever if it's going wrong. Like,
that human needs to be there. You want it to be able to run without the human in the loop, but while you're getting going, I think that's the scariest part, is like, can we trust our business? I trust my developers to get out there and code 20 times faster. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of the LLMs write better code than any of our developers. They just do it faster.
Right.
We still need our developers and our engineers to be there and review it to make it better. It's the same way with agentic AI processes, right? It's probably not better than the human that's worked in the industry for 25 years sitting there and being like, that claim should be paid or that customer needs a refund.
Right.
It just does it faster.
And it doesn't take PTO and all the other things that folks are looking at for reasons why agents can help them in the bottom line.
But we did talk earlier about what makes good AI data, and there's ways of like, is your data ready to be AI ready? I think one good test is if you had a new analyst start, could they figure out what the data set is and all the questions it knows about it within 2 weeks of sitting down? Like, an AI has to do that in seconds. And it's looking at it the same way somebody would, right? You give it as much context and as much information about that data. So when a human sits down and looks at it, it'd take them 2 weeks to be like, this is a customer. Why can't I do this? And then so-and-so comes in and they're like, well, that's external customers. They don't have an account. They're blind customers. They don't have any relation to us. I'm like, how did I know that from that data?
Right.
Like, you can't store a credit card for them. They don't have an account to store a credit card on their account.
Gotcha.
Like,
So as companies are layering this, these agents on top of, an existing data architecture, how do we help them? Oftentimes they can see this as, okay, cool. Now
Yeah.
things are great, when really it's meant to be more of a bridge,
Yeah.
right? Not it's a Band-Aid to get us to a different place. Like, how do we help move them along in that journey?
Yeah, that's a good question, because anytime you start piling anything on top of each other, just adding AI to anything is not going to make it better.
Just smear some
It's not
AI
going
over
to
top
it's
of
not
it.
going to make you more
No.
money. It's not it's not going to be easier to run. It's actually probably even worse. It's not going to cost less, right? Like, it's not going to cost less than the developer sitting there to have some AI process running this thing. It is really just stacking up. And I feel when companies are doing that, they're just kind of wetting their feet and kind of figuring out what's going on. I don't believe that would be production sustainable.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's like that the last decade that I've worked on has really been about modern data platforms and like getting your data to fit the availability needs of what your processes need to do. If you're a financial institution, you want to stop fraud, you need to do that as fast as possible. I wouldn't trust my bank if they didn't send me a fraud alert when I charged something and it was 3 days later and they said this was fraud. Like, well, what are you going to do about it now?
Yeah. Why didn't you
Cancel
hit
my
me up
card?
then?
I can't remember 10 years ago. It's like every time I had a fraudulent transaction, it was cancel my card. Give me a new one.
Yeah.
I don't, somebody's got it. I need to change that. We don't do that anymore. They're just like, oh, we stopped it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and it's interesting. Like, I think that as consumers of the systems, we have started to expect faster and faster.
Correct.
Right? The attention span keeps going narrower and narrower. But then, how do we make sure? Like, what are some of the things that we put in place to make sure that we don't sit on this bad data and start feeding, these negative events? Because, like you said before, there's got to be trust built up in the system, right? And obviously, bad data can degrade that trust. So, like, what are some of the guardrails that you can put in that will help with that?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it, that observability, that traceability of the results coming out of there. That's one thing. Feed that back in the system. There should be tests going about this. There should be almost an agent that triages the outcomes of that are coming through, or at least some human somewhere that can look at things. You're kind of like dog fooding your data at that point. You put something out there, it spits something out. It's like, oh, that's now data. What do I do with that? I need to grade how well this is coming out. I saw something on the car ride home from work the other day, and it was like, somebody's like, oh, we process 100,000 transactions a day and it's 90% accurate. And what is that? That's 1,000 errors, right? A day. Well, if we do 100,000 and we make it 95% accurate, that's still 5,000 errors or something. My math's probably wrong on that. But the idea is getting more efficient over more data doesn't mean less problems.
Right.
So you still need to know that and understand that that's what's coming out of these systems. It's going to make mistakes. You have to have those catches there to fix that. Now, I don't know that there's a specific use this tool and all those problems go away, or use this tool and this is how you catch all the errors. You have to understand what your business cases are to understand what's out of bounds for them.
Right.
And then you refine your model. You train that, or you train your prompts a little bit better, put better expectancies around it, and just keep it going the same way you would any standard microservice. It's like, this thing keeps throwing errors. Well, oh, there's a bug in this edge case. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Fix it.
And I think there's a lot of expectation that, agentic systems are perfect. And like, well, wait a minute, the people doing the job aren't perfect, right? Like, how many errors does this person make on a daily or weekly basis? And yet we look at these systems and we're like, well, they should be 100%. Well,
they're not self-healing either,
yeah.
right? They don't, I mean, they can get better if you feed them through. I mean, if they're a whole bunch of connected systems. Technically, I guess they could learn from themselves, but for the most part, they're still just services sitting there dealing with your data and making decisions on it, the same way they have been for the last 10 years.
And we can get better and better, but we're not going to hit perfection. And so the perfection expectation is definitely out of bounds.
Yeah.
So walk me through kind of thinking about the most recent or one of our recent engagements, right, where we've been able to walk in kind of greenfield with a customer and take them through one of these data enablements, right, where we're moving them to be more AI ready.
Yeah.
Like, what does that process look like?
It's often, eye-opening how hard it is,
Okay.
because it's not simple. There's a lot of different scenarios that your data has to handle. One of the most recent ones we were talking through is like, we don't need this real time. We need this just tomorrow's good enough. Well, until you go back, it was like a store, online store. It's
Okay.
like, well, why wouldn't you want it on? Like, that's where you're going to save your money. Running all these models and running all these systems cost you more and more money. Getting rid of your developers doesn't make your system run better. Like, somewhere your money crunch is somewhere, so you need to save it faster.
Okay.
And so then it comes into like, well, okay, then how do we design for it in more real-time system and still get it over to the other side? So it becomes this huge journey map of the data that's going through the system. And then it comes down to tools and what fits your expertise of your teams, and getting that data available as kind of more of a data product. Like, the idea usually shifts from, I just need data in tables, to this is a data product. And the data product's awesome because it's like, now we have a contract. We have some sort of SLA. We understand what the data is. There's a schema, can enrich it. Somebody owns it, for example, right? So they can give access, and you have somebody to go to understand what this means. But it doesn't just live in a table like it used to be. It used to be data products were just like, oh, that's the customer table, right?
Right.
Now there's 17 ways of consuming that customer, how fast you need it, where it lives at. It's coming from 22 different systems, things along those lines.
So I hear you saying we have to think about the data in a different fashion,
Yeah.
where historically it's been more of like, just save it off somewhere. And if we need to go look stuff up,
Yeah.
we can go look it up. We know where it is. We'll go find it, to more of a product mindset about,
Correct.
all right, what does this data tell us about the business? Or
Yeah.
what does it inform about our customers or our products ourselves? And thinking of it more from that mindset, you actually change your relationship with it.
Correct.
So say a little bit more about that.
So a good example is customers and orders, right? Orders are coming through. Every order has a customer tied to it. Like, that data is related, but they're different products necessarily. But you can glean a lot of information from an order. You can glean how many times a customer has ordered a certain product. You can extract how many of those specific products have been ordered over the last hour, minute, second. You can possibly link it to an inventory system and determine how many you have in stock, whether you need to adjust prices, shut it off the website because we don't have any more left, things along those lines. Each of those are a product that somebody else owns and understands what that piece of data means to the company. And they can tell you a lot of different insights around what's going on as far as your process, as far as how popular things are, how well your systems are running, all behaviors of the system, and what your business needs to know, not just this is customer XYZ or John Doe.
Okay.
And
so
people,
customer behaviors, business behaviors, system behaviors.
Yeah, everything.
It's
kind of driven from that. When you can put those down to a product, and it's exposable, I think, is the biggest thing. Is like, if you have a new use case, and this is where a modern data platform really shines, is I have a new use case, and I need to know every time we have more than 200,000 orders a second or a minute, or whatever you have, so we can raise a flag, or this is wrong, or something's going on, or some person needs to be in this loop, to where that's super important. And you need to be able to do that just because yesterday that happens. Like, I want to know if that ever happens again. If your data is in such a way where you can get to it, it's accessible, and it's kind of a product like that, I should be able to write a system to tap into that and just do that job.
Okay.
Legacy platforms are always like, all right, a customer comes in and creates a new account, and then it goes through this other process, and then it has to go through verifications, and then it has to go through this, and that's when you get access to it. But wouldn't it be faster to know if they already have an account if you looked at it from when they first submitted the form, not necessarily after it's already created a second account?
Gotcha.
Things along those lines.
So you've used the term modern data platform a couple of times. Like, shape that for me. Like, what is a modern data platform versus a legacy?
It's really ambiguous because it means something different to every single company. But the idea is,
give me Nick's
my definition is, you have source of data, and often coming from multiple different things, multiple different sources. You need to get all that data into a single location and then serve it for whatever purpose it is. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time in kind of the data streaming world, so I have a lot of this is real-time data. Like, what is a person in real time? As they update their address, I want to know what that looks like. And every time an address is updated, I need to be able to consume that. Another consumer of that could be the data analytics side, where they want to know, slowly change dimension of this data as it comes into their system so they can build dashboards and reports. But the idea is it kind of supports both the operational and the analytical side of the house, right? There's kind of that, traditionally they're separate. Business can make decisions based on the operational data. Management can make decisions based on these analytical dashboards, but there's a delay in one of them, or the data is too slow in one of them, or it doesn't work to build a dashboard that supports real-time data if you want to see daily statistics added up over a day, right? It makes more sense to do that in some structured data landscape that they can pull that data and build some BI reports off of that. So, but a modern data platform actually serves both. Whether it feeds in, you can grab it, and it really comes down to the accessibility of the data, is what I believe. Is if I am owning this data and you need it, how do you get it? What format do you want it in? I should have a way that's, you just want it pushed through a view? I can give you that.
And the richness of the inputs, right? Those sources, which could be a website, they could be other systems, it could be a third party, whatever.
But it baked into all of that is the accessibility that I talked about earlier, the governance, knowing what the data is, what the schema is, what the context of that data is, the security, who has access to what rows or what states of people or anything along those lines. And then just, the ability to get at that as needed.
And get it in there, get the metadata around it so that you can, increase the richness of that.
With SLAs, with whatever. If I own the product, you can trust me that my customer data is up to date within umpteen milliseconds when you get these things, right? Or I might be my SLA is 2 days. I don't know.
But that's the business. That's the business decision of okay, well, what's right?
Everybody wants to talk about it's the fastest.
Shouldn't always be fast.
No, fast isn't always the good.
Yeah. So there's a cost to speed, right? And so what's your balance of do we really need it that fast? Because here's how much it's going to cost, or we can lower that, and then it's not going to be as expensive.
Yeah.
And maybe not expensive just in terms of dollars, but in terms of business, or resources, whatever that case may be.
Business liability, even just what does it cost us to not know that about that person, right?
Gotcha. That's another business liability.
Yeah.
Awesome.
With AI ready data, some bad things that can happen is if you don't have the context there, it's going to make up something, right? If it doesn't know that a certain customer is not tied to a state, and it just sees a customer, or in the medical field, for example, if you have a claim in a state, the laws in that state might be different than another state. If it's not labeled with the proper state, it could just see this person has a $100,000 claim outstanding. You need to cancel it because that's too big, or need to pay it because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. The absence of data can have just as adverse of effects as having wrong data in there. So it's
because these AI models,
they're just generating.
I've joked earlier. They're like golden retrievers.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. They just want to give
everything's
you an
a ball. Yeah.
Let me give you an answer. I'll make it up.
Yeah.
And it's I'm sorry. You're right. I made that up. And you're like, whoa, don't make things up.
Yeah. I don't want
medical
you to
claims. Please don't make things up.
Please don't make anything. If you don't know what to do, you're better off just passing it and flag it. Right.
Right.
And we can have some other sort of.
How do you put in some of those sorts of guidance, those guardrails?
That's
in the governance.
It's interesting because I think that comes back to where the context matters a lot. And AI ready data, I feel, has more context than just regular data, needed for dashboarding or even just events coming through, is what this is, what valid values are of this in the schema. And then as you get into the prompting and building your agents of what to do, you have to be very specific about some of those edge cases, and lots of testing, lots of harnesses built around that to understand what's going on when that data comes in, that it doesn't do the wrong thing. You have to be fairly explicit.
Yeah. So how do you get to that level of granularity? You mentioned, keep mentioning context. We got to put context.
You probably fail about 100 times first because you don't have it. And it's what is going on? And
so we iterate towards good context.
We're still so new into all of this. Everybody's I've got it figured out. We're fastest. And that's insane. To think how long the internet was around before we could actually order a pizza on it, right?
Right.
Now we're 2 years into this thing, 3, maybe. Well, I mean, technically probably 5, but really big time, just the last couple years. And 2 years into the internet, we were kind of like, no, it makes a pretty cool website where I can host my logo on it and be able to click and send a form that I want to talk to you. But
Yeah, being the old guy from the 90s,
yeah,
I remember making websites then in the 90s.
yeah,
And if you put your credit card
oh
on
yeah,
the web in the
yeah,
90s, like you were a moron.
yeah,
And you were definitely going to get what you deserved. It was
correct,
a bad plan. And so we have come a long way,
yeah,
right? Where Amazon now has all of my credit cards
right,
on the regular.
yep.
And so I think we'll see that as well, but it's going to take some time to
And
mature.
even the companies that are doing this really, really well, the big ones that are, they've been built in the digital age, so they already have their data is already flowing fast. It's already available and accessible. And if you want access to it, there's a way to just grab it for your process. And as long as you adhere to their standards, you're good to go with it. A lot of those, they've all failed millions of times over the last couple of years, just trying to do something like this. They just have safeguards in place to help do some of that. Some of them don't have safeguards, but they're not putting it out to everything they need to do. But the failure and the iterative pieces of this, I think, is very important. As we talk to our customers, you're never going to get it right the first time, especially if you're coming from, I have 47 SQL databases sitting there. I want to be able to use AI on top of them for every time a customer orders something. It's like, well, boy, you're in for a world of hurt, because that doesn't work. I mean, you can do things with it, but if your business case needs to be like real-time functions that happen when a customer does a certain action, like, you've got a lot of infrastructure build out to get to.
It's a lot of work before you get
correct.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just slopping an AI agent on, or an agentic agent on top of some data isn't going to work for that.
So we talked earlier about how, with this data, you start to be able, especially real-time data and agents, you start to be able to make decisions faster, but you also can see behaviors and these interesting things. So it sounds like your data has almost become a potential moat for your business. So what have you seen in terms of how customers are leveraging that moat to say, we're going to be more competitive because of our data?
Well, I think this gets into just like the models in general. They're pretty much a commodity, right? Like, anybody can access any of the models. So
for
it's like
$200 a month, everybody gets it.
Anybody gets it. Yeah. And if most places aren't going to build their own models to do some of that. I mean, that you're quite a ways behind if you're just starting that now. And some of these models are so well trained that
why bother?
Yeah, why bother?
Yeah.
So your data becomes the gas for that engine necessarily. That's how you're going to make your differentiator, is you have the data that happens and you understand it well enough to do what you need to do. And so protecting that data is super important. Understanding how that data works is super important. Getting it ready to be able to, what's the right word? Trial, my mind just blanks as I sit talking. Experiment.
Okay.
As you want to experiment with different pieces of data to do different things, right? Like, that becomes super powerful for the company that's like, well, we're doing fraud detection. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could do also this on top of there? And like, okay, we'll try that.
Yeah.
And they just do it in line, right? Yeah. What else can this data do? That's where, companies like Uber or something along those lines, where their data is already there. They can come up with a new use case in minutes and deploy it, just because they know their data. They understand the data. They have all their data flowing through, and it just works. And probably shouldn't have said the name of a company, I guess, but I don't know exactly how it works there, but I've never been working there. But I would imagine, based on the way they do things, that's how I would do it. It's like,
sure.
Oh yeah, I want to know every time now all of a sudden a customer's zip code change is super important to me. Why the hell would that be important to anybody?
Right.
Because I have a new thing I want to try out,
Well, and as executives, we need to be thinking about it as a business differentiator. With a customer that came to us and had the rights to this guy's photographs.
Okay.
And nobody else has the rights to these photographs. So you could go onto one of the models, right? And, hey, Claude, make me an image in the style of Ansel Adams, which is out there in public, and it could do it. And you could have an image that's kind of in that style. This one, no model's been trained on it. So we built a model, trained it on that specifically because that data set was unique. And now he has the only one. If you want to do an image in the style of,
Yeah.
you have to license it. You have to use his model.
Nice.
You have to go through him. So there becomes some of these opportunities,
Yeah.
if you think about your data in the right way, to set up maybe a differentiator in your business.
Yeah, I mean, that likens me back to, I've been around for quite a while, through a lot of different systems, pre-AI and almost web as well. And so it's like people that were a shipping company are now just a telematics company, right? Because they're
Right.
like, well, I can make way more money selling my product of how I track my trucks than actually shipping stuff on trucks.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. Like the ability to AI to help you pivot a business like that is very intriguing, I think, to me. And as a business leader and an executive, that is where you need to be looking. Like,
Probably could be pretty scary too.
oh,
where
I'd
it's like,
imagine
oh,
you know
man,
nothing about it, but
we
if
might,
you,
we
if
might
you,
become something that we are not. But
correct,
that might be where you can go
correct.
to keep your business from getting
It is amazing.
commoditized.
Yeah, it is amazing how businesses, they either competition kills them or they adapt and they go to do something different.
Yep.
So
Like Netflix, right?
Yeah.
No more DVDs.
yeah.
They're not shipping you DVDs. Now we're streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that happened, and I was just like, what? Why would I? Who's going to stream all this stuff? Like,
Yeah.
why would I ever not have a disc?
Turns
Like,
out all of us.
everybody
Yeah,
does.
they were right.
Yeah, we kind of talked about we're in the infancy of all of this. That's a very good example of someone forward thinking and understanding what's going on there.
Well,
Just trying.
yeah, and I think that there's a lot to come as, like you were saying, more people get their data sorted out, and there's more and more opportunities and more observations about that data for us to do something meaningful with. There's going to be shifts in the business.
Yeah, it's hard to pivot in a new direction if your foundation isn't stable to expose that data in a way that you can pivot or make new discoveries about your data.
Gotcha.
Like if it goes back to what we've been working on the last 10 years, right? Like it's the same thing. It's just a different type of resource that's grabbing your data. Not necessarily you need to change all your data. But if you had garbage data coming out before, putting an agent on it is not going to make it good data. So
Right.
it's just going to make you think like, oh, the AI did something with this data, I can trust it because our AI is the best.
And then maybe
it's even
that's a
worse
business
garbage
risk.
data.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
garbage
big
data,
business risk. So what are a couple of takeaways as we wrap up that you
Yeah.
would love for the listeners to walk away with from our conversation?
Yeah, I think that just understanding where you're at on this journey to being able to leverage your data on AI is subjective to who you are and what your company is. I personally would strive to get things as close to real time as possible for a lot of different scenarios. I think that's very important, especially if you want to make decisions on your data as close to when things happen. You want to serve your customers in such a way as soon as things happen, you want to be able to help them, whether that's they're having problems, they made an order, you want to ship it faster, they updated their address, you want to be able to update that faster, they submit a claim, whatever it is. I think being able to have that solid foundation is what you should strive for, not necessarily jumping to having all your workloads going through AI. I think that is a secondary come on to this, to where it's like, we trust our data, it's well enough formatted and good enough, we can try to do some of this and hope that that's where you find your savings. I do think, though, that it's not cheap. Like, you can't just be like, this is going to save us billions of dollars a year by having a modern data platform, and we're just going to have AI do everything, and the agents are going to take care of handling, tying all these. I won't have to have full teams developed to pushing data to a ticketing system. It's like, well, that's one thing, but if your data's garbage going in, you're going to have full teams of support people helping people, and they don't have problems.
No.
And so I think just understanding where that is and understanding that you're probably behind. My guess is most companies are behind unless you were digital born, like born in the age of the cloud.
Right.
There's going to be growing pains, but having a big picture of what's going on can really help, and understand that it's a step-by-step process and it never is going to go as fast as you think it is, but there's time to catch up. Luckily, you don't have to, we talked about the models being a commodity now, like you don't have to worry about that. If that was your hope, like you're probably too far behind. You know, I mean, unless you have some really good data that nobody else has, for example, like the in the style of picture guy. But yeah, I think with the models being more commoditized, you have your data, leverage them. Like even the open source ones are less than a year behind the main ones for the most part. Like they'll do just as good. So it's relatively inexpensive to try some of it. But your data has to be in the right model in the right format first. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nick.
Thank
you
you
for coming.
Thank you for having me. It was great.